Recently, Bitcoin actually broke through the 100,000 mark, and a lot of news came out. There are basically two types of news. One is that Bitcoin has hit 100,000, and the headlines are everywhere. And it's all the top news outlets and brokers showing pop-ups. Plus there's the Bitcoin crash, and so many people got liquidated. So right now, both groups are really extreme. Either they're super bullish on crypto or completely the opposite. I think he's someone who can even be compared to the US president or major financial institutions like BlackRock, Fidelity, or even fund companies in Hong Kong, like Bozare. There are corresponding ETFs for places like Hong Kong, Singapore, and Dubai, which are also heavily investing in Web3 and blockchain. Those who are extremely skeptical generally feel that. I just think that he's a scam artist, like a tulip bubble or something. Some conspiracy theorists even say it's a tool the US uses to mess with other countries' financial systems. They talk about how Satoshi Nakamoto is just an urban legend created by the CIA. So, today's video. From my perspective as a programmer with 10 years of experience in crypto and 5 years focused on blockchain app development, I want to help newcomers get a better understanding of this industry and answer any questions they might have about Bitcoin. Hey, crypto isn't just for programmers. I'm Gida, and on this channel, I'm here to take you from beginner to Web3 Pro. If this sounds like your kind of thing, make sure you subscribe and smash that like button to stay competitive in the Web3 space. Leveling up your skills as a DApp developer is the way to go. Head over to our homepage, and I'll guide you through every step of the journey. What's Bitcoin? A friend sent me a screenshot asking if this is Bitcoin. Then he sent me a picture of a shiny gold coin. To be honest, I'm really worried he's going to get scammed. Bitcoin doesn't have a physical coin, in fact. Strictly speaking, Bitcoin isn't even a coin, it's a decentralized accounting system. Imagine you and a few friends are playing a game of Do Diju. Each of you has a little notebook to keep track of the wins and losses. Jiang San wins 0, 1 yuan. Li Si wins 0, 2 yuan. And Wang Wu loses 0, 3 yuan. If one of them messed up the numbers, all three just had to pull out their little notebook and compare. And they could easily figure out who got it wrong. Even if you didn't remember, I can just copy yours. Right? And Bitcoin server nodes are kind of like little books. You can think of each round as a block, and each block keeps track of everyone's transaction info. It's basically about how many coins you have. But really, it depends on what everyone's ledger shows you have. You don't actually have a wallet to store those coins in. So what we see in the market as decentralized wallets are really just tools to read information from the blockchain. Their main purpose is for signing and granting permissions. Now, let's talk about Ethereum-related stuff. Let's dive a bit deeper into the wallet thing. What does decentralization mean? Decentralization is basically a concept for system architecture. Whether it's in financial systems or companies, or storage technology can also be decentralized. And one of its features is that it doesn't rely on a single main company. For example, if I have a balance in some app, and that company goes under, the server crashed, right? Does that mean they can't come up with the money? And another thing about it is that it's a distributed network, so everyone can keep a record like a small node, as long as there's even one person in the world using it. This thing can stick around. Then there's the whole consensus mechanism. It's about figuring out how I can trust that your data is legit. You have written in your notebook that you have 1, 0, 0, right? No, that's not okay. We need to double check. And I want all the notebooks that have more than 50 complete to show that you have 1, 0, 0. I can only trust you if this raises another question. Why would I use a little notebook to keep track of everything for the whole world? But this system has a unique feature. It relies on a lot of people keeping track of things with little notebooks for it to be secure enough. So the developers at the time came up with a way to inceptionize that, which is what we commonly hear about mining. What is mining? I guess when Satoshi designed it, he probably thought, since you all are using computers to keep track of transactions, why not just have you all solve a math problem at the same time? If you solve the hash puzzle, I'll give you a reward. We don't need to know exactly what they're calculating or how they're doing it. We just need to know that solving this hash puzzle right now costs a lot in electricity. And we call this model POW, a proof of work. He's all about decentralization. I bet when Satoshi but what worries me is that he didn't think it would end up using so much power later on. The US, honestly, by holding Bitcoin, with all that electricity being wasted on it, it could be a problem. I'd rather use that power to train AI models. So it's more about being eco-friendly. And then there's Ethereum, which is switching to POS staking for its proof of work. We'll talk more about that later. Is Bitcoin decentralized? According to what we discussed earlier. There are a few major players that might come in, like BlackRock and Fidelity. They could buy up all the Bitcoin and stash it away in their wallets, which would mean there wouldn't be any real Bitcoin available on the market. You can only buy a Bitcoin ETF, but you're still using dollars to do it. I feel like that kind of misses the whole point of Bitcoin. Isn't Bitcoin supposed to be anonymous? The principle is supposed to be anonymous, but in practice, we can use some tech methods to figure out who the traders are. For example, if address A sends 1 BTC to address B, we actually can't tell who A and B are. But if B transfers their BTC to an exchange that does KYC and even tracks IP addresses, we can trace that person through these centralized entities. If you're saying I shouldn't move my stuff to the exchange and can just sell it to a friend, sure. But once you find your friend, you can ask who they traded with. And it's pretty much the same thing anyway. You might mention a mixer, but that's not what we're focusing on in this video. Yes, they do exist, and we'll cover that later. Will Bitcoin be cracked? A couple of days ago, Google announced the release of their quantum chip. Even though Google's prices shot up, we found that Bitcoin really hasn't changed much. At least people seem to be voting with their wallets that this quantum chip isn't a threat to the crypto world. The biggest concern isn't really Bitcoin or the crypto industry itself. It's the banks that we're really talking about, because their technology can also be cracked by quantum chips. So I personally think it's pointless to worry about Bitcoin getting hacked. What's the real value behind it? Honestly, that's one of the toughest questions for me to answer because, generally speaking, prices go up because there's demand. Can we equate value with demand? And on the flip side, if there's no demand, does that mean there's no value at all? Now I'm asking you, what's the demand for Bitcoin? A lot of stuff, but I won't go into details. So, does it have value? I think we all know the answer to that one. It's a scam. Don't buy it. Bitcoin is an application of blockchain that keeps track of all sorts of little records, like the amounts and transaction histories linked to each wallet address. Ethereum takes that info and expands it into programmable code. Everyone's little investments are in the app codes and their interaction records, like what buttons you clicked and what information you got back. All of that is clearly tracked. I'm also working on development in that area. Next episode, we'll dive into either uncover some questions that newcomers have. If you have anything you want to ask, feel free to leave a comment below, and I'll address it all in the next video. For a structured learning path in developing Web3 projects on Solana and other EVM chains, make sure to follow our channel for more tech insights. If you'd like to join our bootcamp, head over to my Patreon. With a free subscription, you'll receive a Web3 project development learning blueprint, outlining the essential skills to quickly build your own dApp. See you there.